The Boston Celtics are no longer undefeated as the last undefeated team falls to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Ow! Joel Embiid goes off. Plus, the Clippers lose Harden's debut. The Nuggets storm back. The Rockets got to win. A lot of stuff happening on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA, your daily source for all things NBA from the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us your first listen. Appreciate being with us on whatever platform that you've chosen, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, a 5-star review would be great, or on Spotify, one of the other Apple or other podcast applications. Or if you're checking us out on YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/LockedOnNBA and catch the show there as well. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network and co-host of Locked On Nuggets, joined by my good buddy from Locked On Nuggets tonight for a special episode, late night. His name's Swipa Cam. You can find him on Twitter at Swipa Cam. Swipa, how you doing, my man?
Man, I'm living. This is really the funnest day of NBA basketball since the season got started again. You had thrillers, defensive showdowns, comebacks, offensive performances that seem to take the roof off the stadiums, man. So I'm actually really excited to get into this episode because there were a lot of amazing games to tap into.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff to get into. We'll get into all that and more on today's show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team just wins the game. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Let's start in the great state of Minnesota as the Minnesota Timberwolves knock off the last undefeated team in the NBA, defeating the Boston Celtics at home, 114-109 in overtime. It was a matchup of the NBA's number one offense in the Boston Celtics versus the NBA's number one defense in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jason Tatum goes for 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 steals, but does wind up with 6 turnovers in this one, shooting 12 of 22 from the field. He got help from Jaylen Brown, who had 26, including a huge shot late to tie and had an opportunity to win the game as well in regulation. But in overtime, it was Anthony Edwards. Karl-Anthony Towns fouls out, and Anthony Edwards went to work. 38 points, 15 of 25. He had 8 in overtime, 6 of 7 from the line, 9 boards, 7 assists for Ant, who absolutely took this game over. And the clincher in this one was Jaden McDaniels with a huge shot at the end of the game. Mid-range pull-up to go ahead and ice this one. They got 14 and 12 from Rudy Gobert. This was an absolutely incredible game, start to finish. I was glued to it while I was at Ball Arena watching the Nuggets game. I was like, the Nuggets are getting housed in the first half by the Pelicans, and I am dialed in to Celtics Wolves. It was really terrific. Anthony Edwards also guarded Jason Tatum in late in the fourth quarter and in overtime, helping to get those stops. Minnesota now has wins over the Denver Nuggets and Boston Celtics. And Swipa, this Wolves team is definitely there for real.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is that I think last year they looked like they were off to a great start. Obviously, then the cat went down. But again, just from a team that's just built the right way. Again, from Mike Conley. You know what's funny about Mike Conley? Mike Conley, again, another timely three-pointer. It's just like we feel like we've seen this from him for years now. So for him still to be doing this, obviously, at this age, great point guard that they have with them, and then having Nickeil Alexander-Walker come off the bench. So again, for me, it's just like they're able to throw Nickeil, they just throw Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, and Rudy Gobert with Kyle Anderson at you defensively. And then on top of that, having Karl-Anthony Towns length, they just have so many different things they do. And even Naz Reid is not a terrific defender, but because he's so athletic and he's able to even move in space a little bit, they are just able to throw waves on waves at you. And then on top of that, when Anthony Edwards gets down the stretch of a fourth quarter and he starts hitting those shots, he had a pull-up mid-range shot that he had, came back, pulled up three-pointer that he had on a kind of a Bosch switch between him and Al Horford. It was just like, there's so many great things to love about this team, and the way they seem to be bought into what Chris Finch is doing. They have an identity, lean on their defense, and I think their execution down the stretch with their shot making was really good. And, you know, the Celtics, man, they had some really good performances as well, but, you know, we'll have to see how they continue to turn up throughout the rest of the season in terms of late game clothing, late game execution versus some of the quality teams. But the Celtics have dominated their teams that they played up to this point, and then they ran into the Minnesota Timberwolves team that right now I think believes that it can hang and beat anybody in the league. And guess what? You did the first seed in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference over the span of basically a week. You beat them both on your home floor with something to prove in overtime and then a blowout win versus the Nuggets. So really all hats off to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They deserve everything they're going to get over the next couple of weeks. And I think they're going to solidify themselves as one of the best teams in the West as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. 98 offensive rating for the Boston Celtics, offensive rating for the Boston Celtics, and that's super low for them.
Right.
Again, this is the number one offense coming in, and it was a really good job, I thought, by the Wolves of containing the number of 3-point attempts that they were able to get up. Like the Celtics did get up 39, which sounds like a lot, but they could have gotten up more in an overtime kind of contest, and limiting those and making them earn it more on the interior is really pretty impressive. The Celtics only shoot 39% as a team in this one compared to the Wolves 51%, but they did get to the line for a just absolute ridiculous number of free throws in this contest. It was absolutely absurd how many free throws went down, but it was a great game. Prove it moment, I think, for the Wolves to be able to say like, hey, yeah, we got the Nuggets in kind of a letdown spot. And now it's like, no, you got the Wolves. Like they took it to the Nuggets, and the only team that has, and they're the only team that's taken it to the Celtics. And the combination of, I like the combination of defense first. Jaden McDaniels is one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. Ant is a good defender. This is the big difference with them and where they were last year to start the year with D'Lo. They don't have weak spots defensively. Like this team can legitimately, they can defend you at all times. Kyle Anderson's a good defender. Naz Reid was huge in this game, came in, had 10 points in 5 minutes in the first in that first half to give the Wolves an opportunity to hang and build a little bit of a lead actually in that first half. Give credit to Boston for fighting back here, because it would have been easy given how tough that Wolves defense is and the size disadvantage. One of the things I thought was really interesting was that the Wolves play Towns and Gobert together, right? And everybody's like, what are they going to do? Because they're going to have to guard Tatum with Cat, and instead the Celtics changed up their starting five and they put Horford in to start this game. They went double big, and it shows you that if an opponent is able to ably represent size, where you're not just like, we're not worried about it at all. If it's two good players, and Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns, regardless of what you think of them, are good NBA players, it does force adjustments from the opponent. And the Celtics were clearly worried about getting killed on the boards. And that allowed them to be able to play a style that was a little bit better for them. And, Al Horford, I thought once again, as he always kind of is, played really well in this game. He did the things that Horford always kind of does. Now he was 1 of 5 from the field in 36 minutes, but 5 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, and he was a +7. Like they won the minutes with Horford out there. But they lost the minutes with Porzingis. And it just kind of goes to show you that the answer of small ball, I personally don't think that small ball, there are times when small ball will win. It used to be, if you go small, you win that game. That's just how the NBA was there for about 5 years. I think that era is over, and we've got better balance now between some teams that can play small and some teams you can't play small against.
Yeah, I think the Wolves are teetering between having really good big players that are skilled. I think similar to the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think the problem they ran into in a half-court setting last year versus the Knicks in the playoffs is that, when you have Jared Allen and you have Evan Mobley on the court together, they're big, but they just don't have a lot of offensive skills that you can actually turn over and say can win you possessions in a half-court setting. And then I think with the Wolves, the thing is that, I think Karl-Anthony Towns has his limitations. He didn't score, I believe, in the first half of this game. And so there are things we've seen from him in the playoff setting where you can't necessarily trust him. But I really think all this is kind of a referendum on the narrative surrounding Rudy Gobert, because publicly, because of the way things went last year, people started looking at Rudy and questioning the value that got attributed to him and the draft picks that it cost to acquire him, which again were a lot. But in terms of his actual approximation for what he means to winning basketball, this for me is Rudy Gobert re-solidifying himself as one of the premier, maybe top 3 defenders in the NBA, because right now everybody is playing on a string. That is true. But because he's in the middle and all the traffic is being driven towards him, and even his vertical spacing that he offers to that team, man, I think they're just going to be a juggernaut for a lot of people to deal with. And so long as they have Rudy, so long as they have Jaden, and so long as they have Anthony Edwards and even Nickeil Alexander-Walker and others on that roster, man, they're just going to be a nightmare to face. And I think for the Celtics, I think that having Kristoff at the 5, I think they could have spread it out a little bit, maybe put Tatum at the 4 a little bit and spread the court out and see if they can actually move around and get some open three-point looks, attack and kick out, some closeout possessions like that. But again, I just am really, really, really proud of the fact that the Timberwolves were able to play so well and then execute down the stretch of that game. And then again, Anthony Edwards literally took the game from the Celtics in overtime. And I think, again, they just have everything that you want for a team that's trying to move into the contending status. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes for them.
The Wolves had an 86 defensive rating. That's unbelievable versus this Boston team when Rudy Gobert was on the floor on Monday night. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Naz Reid, and Jaden McDaniels also had absolutely phenomenal minutes together in this one. Really, it does. I will say I have some concerns about the Celtics bench. I kind of picked this up over the weekend doing a deep dive on him. I have some concerns about the Peyton Pritchard minutes, and we'll keep an eye on that. He was okay tonight, but in general, I have some concerns about the Celtics depth, which is what happens when you trade for Drew Holiday. Up next, we're going to talk about James Harden. He makes his debut with the Los Angeles Clippers, but LA does not get the win in New York. We'll talk about that up next on Locked On NBA. Right now, I want to tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's talk about FanDuel Sportsbook. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. I've already gotten bets in for next weekend's NFL games. Should be absolutely phenomenal. Also, cash on Michael Porter Jr. over on rebounds over at FanDuel as well. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Back here on Locked On NBA. Thanks for joining us. Matt Moore alongside Swipa Cam talking to you on Tuesday. Appreciate you guys being with us. Let's get to the Los Angeles Clippers, who made James Harden's debut versus the New York Knicks in the Garden. And the Knicks, this is a back-and-forth affair. It was a really good game. They played back and forth the whole night. Paul George was really rough in this one, 2 of 11 from the field for just 10 points. Kawhi Leonard was his usual pretty good self. 18 points only for Kawhi, though. 8 of 16 from the field. The Knicks defense continues to be pretty impressive this season. I thought their offense was going to be good, but instead it's been their defense. Harden debuts and plays 31 minutes. He goes 6 of 9 from the field for 17 points with 6 assists. Unfortunately, none of those came with Russell Westbrook on the floor. None of his points came with Russ on the floor. Russ goes 8 of 13 for 17 points and was actually marginally better in the plus-minus department. But the big problem was that this was a back-and-forth affair, and through 3 quarters, it was anyone's game. I think it was tied, actually, after 3 quarters. And then the 4th quarter came, and the Knicks just absolutely put a beat down on, especially with that bench unit. This has been a strength of Tibbs' teams throughout his time in New York, that the bench has always been a little bit better, and it doesn't seem to matter who it was. They lost Obi Toppin and Derrick Rose, who were 2 key players for that bench unit in the summer, and yet they just continue to kind of roll off. RJ Barrett was phenomenal in the 4th quarter. He scores 11 points on 4 or 5 shooting to help the Knicks go ahead and solidify it. But then you've also got, Emmanuel Quickly comes in and does Emmanuel Quickly things with 3 dimes. Isaiah Hartenstein with 4 points. Dante DiVincenzo with 8 in that 4th quarter. But the bigger thing here was that the Clippers just absolutely could not score. They could not get any buckets to fall. They were outscored 35-21 in that final frame. Couldn't get anything going. And it's a testament, I think, to the Knicks bench, but I also think a lot of this was the Clippers are still trying to figure out what their rotation is going to be after Harden, and they're kind of figuring out what those lineups are going to want to be. And one team looked like a team that was at home, energized, that knows how to play together, and the other one was a little disconnected, and that's how the Knicks were able to run away with this one.
Yeah, Josh Hart plus 13, Emmanuel Quickly plus 22, DiVincenzo plus 13, and Isaiah Hartenstein plus 10. So just, again, colossal winning minutes for the New York Knicks bench. And, it's funny because Julius Randle coming into the day, I think he was shooting like less than 10% from the field. And for him to be able to come in and have a better game today, 27 and 10 and 3 for Julius, plus 2. And then I think also, Jalen Brunson didn't even have a good game today. He was 2 of 12 from the field and had 7 and 6 today. and they still were able to come away with a victory. Now, here's the thing about the Clippers side. So the scoring was balanced 10, 18, 17, and 17 between Russ, Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. But for me, is I don't love the idea, and I think many people don't necessarily love the idea of James Harden and Russell Westbrook sharing the court together in the starter minutes. I think Terrence Mann would be the more ideal fit to be able to slot in there, but I don't know when Ty Lue is going to get there in terms of where the roster is right now. They're trying to appease, it feels like, all four of their star players, meaning that former star or current star that they have on their team right now. And I don't love the idea of trying to make these ball handlers who are predominantly on-ball players try to work and serve off ball. And again, we'll see if the scoring distribution kind of picks up where it left off, but it just wasn't like even just in the first quarter. Watching that game, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are trying to basically match Julius Randle on the inside when securing rebounds and all that. And then obviously Ivica Zubac minus 18 today with a James Harden was a minus 18 in the game as well.
And I will say this, I think we'll see about how the ball handling stuff goes. Like there's time on that. That was honestly the big problem in this one is that Zubac was having to not only guard Mitchell Robinson, who's such a monster on the inside, but Julius Randle was getting perimeter penetration as well. So Zoo's winding up guarding two guys that are just putting shoulders into him all night long. And Zoo really struggled. It was a really rough night. The other thing is the Clippers, honestly, look, the Clippers shot better from the field. They made one fewer three, and they got to the line less. But overall, the big problem was turnovers. The Clippers had 22 turnovers. The Knicks had 20. That's a 2 turnover differential, but the Knicks turned those 22 turnovers into 35 points. This is something that I talk about a lot when I talk with coaches is it's not about turnovers. It's about what do those turnovers lead to. You're fine if you turn the ball over and you get a stop on the other end. But if you're allowing these high points per possession marks on turnovers and 35 on 22 is nuts. That is awful. Those are breakaway dunks that are going in every single time. When that's the case, you're just digging yourself a hole that you're not going to be able to get out of. And that's ultimately, I think, what hurt the Clippers. Zubac, look, he is what he is. And there's not a better option. You can't you can put in Mason Plumlee. Mason's not going to have necessarily better luck than Zoo does. This is one of the things that the Knicks are another team. They play big, right? They play Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle. It's a lot of size and power on the interior. And they're going to have, if Zoo's not going to be able to hold up there, my problem though is this is why you start Zoo. This is why you have him. This is the reason that he plays in these games. And I do kind of wonder if maybe PJ Tucker, who by the way was a +2 in this game, maybe they would have been better going small and just living with it. Cause PJ Tucker's not going to get out rebounded, at least in terms of positioning. Mitchell Robinson might reach over him. But I would have maybe played PJ Tucker a little bit more in this game, play a little bit bigger with a more physicality in this one.
Yeah, but even then, it's just so they had Russell Westbrook starting off in the dunker spot in the first couple offensive possessions. I just don't love the concept. So they're trying to mitigate the lack of shooting, and then the fact that he's going to clog the paint on there, and they're using athleticism next to the rim, but he's a 6'3" point guard. So even then, that doesn't necessarily relieve your offense if you don't have a true vertical spacer standing next to the basket while James Harden is there or PG or whatever, they're getting to the rim. They need a relief valve right there. But to your point on the transition, 172 points per 100 possessions in transition for the New York Knicks today. That is horrendous.
Yeah.
And this is from cleaningtheglass.com, by the way. So there's just a lot of stuff they have to figure out. They're older. All four of their best players are all in their mid-30s. So playing defense, playing decent consistently, the communication, the rotations, all that stuff has to be figured out. Now, talent-wise, I think they will. But as of right now, I don't love the way they were utilizing Ivica Zubac. And already the narrative seemed to be flipping that Zubac is somehow the problem with this roster, when in fact he's trying to make up, as you said, for mistakes that are across the board on the perimeter and then being asked to contest at the rim while having to help on the weak side. So it's just going to be a lot of stuff to figure out.
I mean, eventually this is going to end up with Russ being benched and Terrence Mann starting. They're going to do this. And it's going to work some nights, and it's not going to work other nights. And eventually they're going to have a reckoning, and Terrence Mann's going to start, and Russ is not going to be happy about it. And it's going to be uncomfortable, but Russ is in a very different situation than the other three. He just is. We'll see how that turns out with the Clippers. On the other side, we'll go around the NBA. We'll get to a lot that we still have to cover. Joel Embiid's huge night. The Nuggets storm back behind a prolific performance from Nikola Jokic. The Chicago Bulls got a win. How about that? How about the Houston Rockets getting a win? How about that? The Pacers have another incredible offensive performance. The Lakers lose again. The Heat finally get a win. All this and more on the other side when we return on Locked On NBA. Let's talk about Jase Medical. You know, we spent a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts and who sits. I'm thankful for that connection that we've got. And today, I want our chat to be a little bit more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means? You can bring on extended travel, bring on the next natural disaster, or supply chain issues. You're covered. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, or Revatio prescription. And this is possible because of our friends at Jase Medical. Go online right now at jasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for discount as well. You know, a verified customer had this to say about Jase. I'm thankful for the service. Supply chain issues have caused me to cut pills in half just to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit, and I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would like to get some peace of mind by having a year supply of any daily med, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase at jasemedical.com. We'll be right back on Locked On NBA. Final segment here on Locked On NBA for a Tuesday. Matt Moore alongside Swipa Cam. You can follow him on X. I will say it one time at Swipa Cam. I'm at HP Basketball. All right, let's go around the NBA real quickly. I'm going to spit out these games, and you're going to give me a take on each one of them. You ready for this, Swipa?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Joel Embiid, incredible performance in a blowout win over the Wizards, who, by the way, just have one of the most wretched, sad rosters in the league. 48, 11, and 6, including 29 points in the third quarter. What do you think on Embiid's big night?
Great. Daniel Gafford, no paint protection at all. Yeah, Embiid's incredible. This is the best game of the year. This feels like the Utah game he had last year when he kind of started the year off with a bang before he ended up winning the MVP. So great game for Embiid. 48 on 17 of 25. There's something about the Wizards, like I don't know what it is. Like when they play against great big men, they just decide to stop playing defense, it seems like. So, yeah, we'll see. Again, great game from Embiid. Tyrese Maxey, 22 and 11. Look, now I'm not going to hold you. I think Tyrese Maxey's going to be an all-star this year. And for me, that's surprising. I did not expect that to happen. But 22 and 11 on 9 of 16. He's a +9 with a steal and a block and stuff as well in just 32 minutes. So Tyrese Maxey is ascending. I like the way that the roster is actually rounding itself out after that James Harden trade. Again, it's a step to another step more than likely, but you like what you see from the 76ers so far.
Yeah, I honestly, this is probably my favorite Sixers roster of the Embiid era. He's been phenomenal. His passing's way up. They're running more DHOs. Offense makes a lot more sense. Kelly Oubre's fit in really well, but Embiid was absolutely dominant tonight. Nobody could stop him. He's right back. He's picking up right where he left off in the regular season last year. Let's talk about the Miami Heat, who get a win over the Los Angeles Lakers, 108-107. Anthony Davis leaves the game with this is a accurate description. This is word for word. Groin spasms is what Davis is dealing with tonight. Davis obviously consistently having issues. Austin Reeves with 23, 10, and 9 in the loss. Bam Adebayo with a 20, 20, and 10 game for the Miami Heat. The Heat needed this one, and they got it done.
Yeah, Bam Adebayo apparently you've been watching the NBA Finals last year. So great game from Bam, one of the best defenders in the NBA. Great freaking performance from him. Really, he was giving AD problems when AD was playing on the court when he was healthy before the injury. So really, really great game from him. Jimmy Butler, 28, 4, and 6 on 9 of 15, and also added 2 steals in there as well, and was 3 of 4 from the three-point line. And then another player who's ascending is Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero, 22, 5, and 5, 8 of 20, and he also added 3 steals into the game as well. Kyle Lowry with almost a 5, 5, and 5 game at 5, 4, and 5 as well. So he just took care of business. And LeBron James today, 34 and 3 on 13 of 23. They won the minutes with LeBron on the court yet again. And LeBron James, similar to the Cleveland Cavaliers playoff game, where he threw the ball to Kyle Korver in the left corner. He tried to trust Cam Reddish to close the game out with a literal wide open three-pointer, and it wasn't able to execute and go down. But LeBron, as he always does, always makes the right play. That's why he's one of the 2 greatest players of all time. So really, it's frustrating, I know, if you're a Lakers fan, because I know Lakers fans were hoping that the additions that they made in the offseason, Jackson Hayes, Taurean Prince, Gabe Vincent, they were hoping that those players were going to help them to have one of the deeper rosters in the NBA. And in case Anthony Davis or LeBron went down, they would be able to carry them to wins. And so far, that's not happening. They're 3-4 on the season, but I think they do have some things to be hopeful about going forward.
I don't know. I'm getting a little worried. They're small. They're undersized. They try and play these big lineups, and those are good. Christian Woods played really well for the Lakers this season. He's one of the few Lakers that play well. Look, they are missing a lot of guys. They're missing a lot of rotation players that should be in there. Jared Vanderbilt continues to be out. They're missing a lot of players. I have a hard time being all that sympathetic because it's like, look, the Kings are without De'Aaron Fox. Look at the injury report any night in the NBA. It's rough. But I do think that the Lakers probably just need to weather the storm and figure out some of the rotations. I continue to believe this, though. They're +6 in the LeBron minutes. They're -7 when he's out, right? A lot of this for me is that they went to trying not to stagger him with the second unit. And I get for a lot of reasons in terms of his trying to contain his workload, but it's not working. He still played 37 minutes tonight because he has to, because they can't survive without him. Have him bridge the second unit. Have AD play the starters. They've been doing like Austin Reeves and AD. Those minutes have been garbage. They've been absolutely terrible when it's AD and Austin Reeves without LeBron. Have LeBron and Reeves anchor the second unit. AD plays start first and second, start third and fourth. Keep it that way, and you might be able to get things a little bit righted in terms of the bench rotation. Real quick, how about the Indiana Pacers, who put up 152 on the San Antonio Spurs? Absolutely incredible offense performance by the Pacers, who continue to put up incredible numbers night in and night out offensively.
Yeah, they're just, I don't know who saw this coming. I sure didn't. I didn't realize that the Bruce Brown edition was going to mean so much to them. But even just today, like just the way they play. Again, Tyrese Halliburton, this was a mid-game from him, 23, 2, and 8 on 9 of 19, plus 27. Top of that, the Obi Toppin addition that they made this offseason. Obi Toppin at 19 and 2, plus 25 in his minutes. Bruce Brown, 7, 5, and 4, plus 21. Benny, 10, 3, and 2, 4 of 8 from the field, a plus 13. And then Miles Turner, who is just having, again, really good season this year, 15, 11, and 2, 5 of 7, and a plus 19. And then that did not only include Buddy Hield, a 6-man off the bench, 19, 7 of 8, 5 of 6 from 3, and a plus 22. Matt, they shot 58% from the field, 53% from 3 on 20 of 38, and 96% from the line on 22 of 23 free throws. And they had 38 assists tonight, had 49 rebounds, and they just absolutely ran the Spurs all the way off of the floor today. And the Spurs have looked good for a young team, especially defensively versus other teams in the NBA right now. So the fact that the Pacers are playing this well and giving you this much already, I mean, this really bodes well for them. They're 4-3, and they're currently the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. I don't know how many people saw this coming.
I did. I talked about them. I have them as a playoff team. I thought they were going to be awesome. I thought they'd be a top 5 offense. I believe in Rick Carlisle. Good start for the Pacers outside of the Celtics game, which, hey, everybody gets smashed every now and again. There's a lot more performances to get to, and we're not going to have time to hit them all. I want to hit them very quickly. Luka has 29, 3, and 6. He does get hit in the back of the head. Looked kind of scary there for a minute. But the Mavericks outpaced the Magic big time in the second half. Magic without Wendell Carter Jr. and Markelle Fultz. They just do not have the weapons to hang with the Mavericks offense that is going to beat up on all these bad teams unless you are absolutely locked in with your best defenders. Gogo Batadze was not ready for Derek Lively, who I thought had another great game in this one. Paolo Banchero, 22 in the loss. Steph Curry goes for 32 points in this one. He hits once again. He goes off from 3-point range. There's a big surprise. 7 of 17 from 3 for Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time. Klay Thompson, only 1 of 8 in this one. This was a game for much of the contest, and Pistons actually had a lead late in this one, but the Warriors outscored them by 10 in the fourth quarter to get the win in Detroit. I'm a little bit worried about the Warriors, but we'll see what they look like on Wednesday when they face the Denver Nuggets.
They don't look great outside of Steph so far, especially their scoring. Their scoring's been all over the place.
Yeah, it's been weird. How about Cam Thomas? 45 points for the Brooklyn Nets in a loss. Giannis has to go for 36, 12, and 3. As the Bucks get the win 129-125 over the Nets, who are without Nick Claxton. Once again, the Bucks transition defense is a big question mark. Look, the Bucks got this win; they're 4-2, but the margins here are more narrow than they were last year or the year before.
Right.
They're still trying to figure out how to play with Dame, but I will say that I still am a little skeptical on the total win output of how good this Bucks team is going to be. They got a lot to figure out over the next couple months.
Yeah, the Bucks have the second worst defense basically in the NBA right now, and it just keeps getting worse. Dame is not, again, they're adjusting to a new scheme, 1000% get that, but Dame, Malik Beasley, Pat Connaughton, and then Jay Crowder is just not getting the job done. And I think obviously with Brook Lopez and Giannis having to try to anchor that defense, they're just all over the place right now. There's not a lot of communication. They're discombobulated. And again, getting into shootouts with the Brooklyn Nets. And again, 45-4-3 for Cam Thomas, 31-5-4 for Mikal Bridges. And the starters won their minutes, by the way, Matt. The only starter that wasn't a positive in the plus minus was Benson, who's a nice swap. And again, Richard Dinwiddie was also in the positive as well, and he was a plus 13. So this is just not like shaping up to be a season that we all thought the Milwaukee Bucks were just going to kind of be a clear top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Like they might be the third or fourth best team in the conference, if that, right now with the way that they're playing. So they really do need to figure this out ASAP. And again, a lot of it starts with Damian Lillard, especially defensively.
You know, I actually argue against that. They need to figure it out ASAP. They need to figure it out by April. Like that's the key here is like, I don't have any sort of concerns about the Bucks needing home court. I don't think they're worried about going into Philly and getting a game 7. Boston's a different type of deal, but that was always going to be a tough ask. The one I didn't watch, I just want to give it a shout out to it. I got to watch this one tomorrow. Thunder win 126-117 over the Hawks. DeJounte Murray goes for 29, 4, and 6. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for 38 and 6. Chet Holmgren with an icing and one putback as Holmgren goes for 16 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks in this one and a steal. They get 21 from Jalen Williams. Again, Shai, 11 of 20 from the field, a plus 14 in this one. Trae Young, once again, not shooting great, 5 of 18. This continues to be a weird trend with Trae Young. I think the Hawks are pretty good. It would be really good if they could get Trae Young shot to fall a little bit more. Weird game. I got to make sure to check this one out tomorrow. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Johnson's been one of the stories of the year, probably right behind Cam Thomas in terms of just like a player that is figuring some things out. So I'm curious to see what the Hawks continue to do. A lot of people are curious why, it's just, I don't know. Like, it's just the Hawks seem to be one of those stories where they don't exactly seem like they're playing up to par half the time, and then they get wins that you don't expect on the other time. So really curious to see how the season goes. Clint Capella has 6 and 12 tonight. DeJounte and Trae didn't figure it out all last year, but maybe they turned the corner. But again, OKC's a real deal, man. And like the fact that they're so young and already this ahead of schedule, and Chet Holmgren looks like there's a very reasonable argument for him to be the rookie of the year this year as well. Like defensively, like they're playing extremely well. And then on top of that, having Shai, having Jay, and then also Josh Giddey had 8, 7, and 4 tonight. He was also a +7. Lou Dort 19, 9, and 3. Lou Dort also having a really great season as well. So, man, shout out to OKC. Some people predicting that they're going to be a top 6 seed. Looks like they might have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, the Chet Holmgren versus Victor Wembanyama Rookie of the Year debates are going to get nasty about the turn of the year. Just going to go ahead and let you know about that. January, it's going to start to get real nasty with Chet versus Wemby discussions across the NBA landscape. Finally, we'll cap this off. We are on Locked On Nuggets. We will go ahead and hit this game. Nuggets get the win 134-116. I was in the building tonight, Ball Arena, for this one. An absolutely wild game. So the Nuggets go down by 20. They're down 61-41 in the first half. And from there on out, they proceeded to go on, I think, what was a 93-55 run. Insane performance by Denver in the second half. They came out and simply, the Nuggets, if they hit this gear, you're done. You have to keep them from hitting it. In the first half, the Nuggets shot 1 of 13 to start the game from 3-point range.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pelicans were then able to run off of those misses. And the Pelicans shot the lights out. Especially, I want to give like a lot of credit to Jordan Hawkins, who's having a heck of a rookie season, and tonight had a career high 31 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 7 of 14 from 3-point range. Jordan Hawkins made as many 3-pointers tonight as Steph Curry. He was sensational in this game. But once the Pelicans started to miss threes, the Nuggets started running, especially in the second half, and they ran the ball down their throat. It was an absolutely insane second half run in this contest. In the second half alone, Nikola Jokic goes for 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and a plus 22. The Nuggets also got a big night from rookie Julian Strawther, another late first-round pick that seems like he's going to be a hit. Strawther finishes with 21 points on 8 of 13 shooting and 5 of 9 from 3. I have a lot of like Zion was awesome in this game and needs the ball more. When it's Zion and 4 shooters, the Pelicans are incredible. When it's Brandon Ingram, the air goes out of the room. Like it's just they love Ingram. They're gonna stick by Ingram. They believe in Ingram, the organization, the locker room, the coaches, on down. They all love it. BI. But boy, do I wish that Zion Williamson is a little bit more optimized. And on the other end, look, teams are going to have a hell of a time. Like this is Nikola Jokic is playing even better than he has in his MVP seasons, and teams are going to have a hell of a time finding wins in Denver.
Yeah, I was listening to the Pelicans broadcast about this tonight. They were talking about Nikola Jokic like similarly like the way you talk about LeBron James at his apex. Where there's just nothing that can do. And this is also a huge moment for Michael Porter Jr. Jamal Murray missed tonight's game. Will be out for the near foreseeable future. And he had another 22-point game, 22 and 9 for him. Really big possession. Peyton Watson, great defensive performance today, 4 stocks for him. And then Julian Strawther, 21 points off of the bench. And even Colin Gillespie gets in the game and has some positive moments in the game as well. By the way, KCP tonight had 15 points, 7 assists, was a game high plus 23 for KCP tonight. And he played terrific defense on Brandon Ingram as well. He continues to make a push for first team all defense as he's been talking about throughout the year. Has another steal in this game as well. And then Aaron Gordon, 15, 12, and 6 on 7 of 9 from 2. And he was also a plus 8. And Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson were the main defenders on Zion Williamson today. And both of them gave a valiant efforts to try to contain Zion. And Zion, he did end it with 20, 10, and 9. Shot less than 50% from the field with a minus 11. Brandon Ingram in just 1 less minutes than Zion Williamson today was a minus 29 when he was on the court. They absolutely got throttled when Brandon Ingram was on the court today. So, again, curious to see how the Pelicans continue to go from here. I don't know what the solve is for that Brandon Ingram-Zion situation. They don't seem super compatible, but, we'll see. We'll see how eager they are to see if that pairing can work at some point this year.
32 assists for the Nuggets starting unit in this one. Like, this is a slow-paced game because Denver always plays at it, and yet their assist totals are absolutely ridiculous. Like, to put that in perspective, the Nuggets as a team had 51 buckets. They had 37 assists.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those were offensive putbacks off of what would have been assists. Mm-hmm. Remarkable team basketball by the Denver Nuggets, and when they hit that gear, you better get out the way. All right, it's got to wrap it up for Locked On NBA. Thanks for joining us. You can catch Swipa and I over on Locked On Nuggets. David Ramil and I'll be back next week. David will be with you on Wednesday as well, filling in. So make sure to check that out. Tomorrow, Jake Madison and John Corrales. Check out those guys. One of my favorite shows on our entire network of shows over in the Locked On Podcast Network universe. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On NBA.